Hey guys, Alex from BoardGameCo over here, and thank you so much for helping us reach 2,000 subscribers. We just hit 2,000 yesterday, which is not big numbers by any means of anything, but from when I started this, from when I started out with, 15 subscribers, ooh, yay, I'm at 100. For me, 2,000 is a big number, and I really appreciate every one of you who've subscribed. I appreciate everyone who's watched the videos, and today's video is actually going to be about why I have this channel, why I do these videos, what's in it for me, what's the motivation behind it, and it's inspired by someone actually commenting on one of my videos the other day of asking me, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What's the reason? What's the incentive? And I never really thought about this with other people's channels. I've been watching board game videos for a long time, and to some extent I always assumed there's a reason. That reason could be a combination of a love of games, it could be the free games reviewers get, it could be sponsorships that people get paid. There's many different reasons why people might do it, but it's just not something I put a lot of thought into it. Now, people in general do act for reasons. It could be sheer love of the hobby, it could be, but honestly, the better your content is, the more work there has to be put into it, whatever that content might be. In terms of the equipment can be pretty expensive. I mean, I'm on the cheap end of things, and I've still spent a few $100 on different pieces of equipment to get slightly better lighting, slightly better mics. At some point, I plan on investing in a better camera. I've had 2 different tripods. And then, again, I'm on the bare minimum entry level of what's going on here, and I've already spent a few $100s on equipment. In terms of the time it takes to put out a video, all the videos you don't actually see. For every video you see, there's multiple cuts, there's multiple edits, multiple things that you don't actually see that were started and stopped, a video that the idea never came out, a list that just wasn't well produced. There's lots of work you don't see that goes behind it. So love of the hobby can always be a good motivation for a lot of things, but usually I imagine for most people it takes more than that. I think it's a combination, but it takes more than that. Now in my case, let's take a step back and let's first cover BoardGameCo, which is BoardGameCo is the channel that is the company that sponsors this channel, and that's a weird really thing because it's not really sponsored per se. Rather, I run BoardGameCo. I'm one of the 2 owners of BoardGameCo. We're a fairly small operation, roughly 5-6 people total, and I started this channel off the bat. My initial incentive, and my incentive now as well, to be clear, I'll explain it more. Ultimately, it does come down to money. It does come down to there is a financial incentive here. Now, don't get me wrong. I love board games. I hope that comes through with all these videos I do. I hope it comes through with my passion for the Kickstarters I'm interested in, my disappointment when I don't like something. I hope how much I love and enjoy board games comes through in these videos. When I say that my incentive is money, what I mean is I'm not going to lie to you here. I'm honest about everything else. I'm honest about the games I don't like. I'm honest about the Kickstarters I think you shouldn't back. I'm honest about everything that's going to include my motivations for this channel. Yes, I love board games 100%, but there is enough work that goes into board games that there of course was a financial incentive for me to do this. Because I run a company, BoardGameCo, that initial incentive was very much along the lines of, you know what, we're going to start a bunch of social media things. We already had a Facebook page, but let's get onto Instagram, let's get onto YouTube, let's build a community. And over time, members of that community, not everyone, don't get me wrong, but members of the community will think of us more as, a store that they want to go shop at because we're no longer some nameless brand, but rather we're people, and we are people, don't get me wrong. So there was a big incentive for trying to grow a media channel to BoardGameCo. And that initially was my main incentive, and it's still there in the background. Now what I mean by that is, so first of all, BoardGameCo, we sell board games. You can head on over to BoardGameCo.com. This is my obligatory plug because I'm telling you why I started the channel. But BoardGameCo.com, we buy games from people, which is where we're just like everyone else. Where we're different than everyone else is we also trade games, which very few companies actually do. So we have a ton of used games. We'll take your used games, anything you're not playing, go on and trade. Head on over to BoardGameCo, message us, reach out to a rep, reach out to someone, and we'll take your games. We will take your used games that you aren't playing off your hands. Additionally, will straight up buy your games. If you're not interested in a trade, you'll get more value for a trade. But if you want to just buy, if you want someone to just buy your games, we'll buy them too. We'll offer you a quote either in store credit or in cash. We'll pay for shipping. We'll take your games in. So the whole used game aspect is where there's a few companies like us. There's not a lot of people who do that. But again, buying games, head over to our site. Where we are different is we have a giant selection of used games that are both hard to find, in print, out of print, for a variety of different prices because since they're used, a lot of times they're cheaper. If they're really hot and popular, they're not necessarily cheaper. But ultimately, we are a store. And that is why I initially started this channel, to be another media outlet for that store. But at the same time, what many of you don't know is at the same time that I started this channel, I also started an Instagram page, which is not dead, but like I post there maybe, I don't know, once every few weeks at this point. And the reason I'm here and not there is because one of these was a whole lot more fun for me. It was a whole lot more work, don't get me wrong. But I really loved, when it came to Instagram, I took photos and I posted various reviews or various tidbits or various whatever, but I didn't love it. I did it as checking a box of doing the things, doing the steps necessary to grow an audience, doing those steps. And again, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't something that really spoke to me. It wasn't something that was particularly immersive. It was just, you know, here's a photo, boom, another follower. Oh, we ran a contest and we got like a few hundred followers. But I was never invested. I didn't love it. I love board games. I didn't love the Instagram channel. And when I started on YouTube, I really enjoyed it. I found that talking about board games, talking about aspects of board games, and all different kinds of aspects, and I'll get to that shortly, but I really enjoyed it. I like the process of sharing my opinion. I like the process of talking about whether it's a random topic about the industry, whether it's specific feedback on a Kickstarter, and whether I think it's a good buy or not. I really enjoy it. There's a huge level of enjoyment involved in this YouTube channel, and that is a big part of why I do it. So number one is I like board games, offhand. I love the hobby. I want to be invested in the hobby. I want to be in the hobby in any and every way I possibly can. Number two is, in terms of where to spend that time, I love the YouTube aspect of things. I love creating videos. I love putting out content. I like engaging with you guys. It's a very enjoyable medium for me. Number three is there is, of course, a financial incentive. If there was no payback on the time I'm putting into this, it would be very hard to justify the amount of time I'm putting into this. I mean, I put out a video every 2 days, more often than that when there's a Kickstarter coming up. I don't do a ton of editing, but there is editing that goes into. You have to create the thumbnail, you have to review the video. Anytime I put graphics in, you have to do all that. Every time I set up a video, I have to set up my lights, set up the mic. There's multiple videos I start and stop a few times before actually putting it out. There is a lot of work behind this, and without a financial incentive, I wouldn't be able to justify it. Now, here's the flip side. I am happy to take minimum wage to do this, or less. I just need enough money that I can sit there and say, oh, great, I made a few bucks off here. I made a few bucks off my time. It's worth it. Meaning, I want to justify spending time on this channel because of how much fun it is, because of how enjoyable it is to talk about things. And part of what I really like is, one of the reasons, in terms of the content I put out, the reason you don't see a lot of reviews from me is I kind of just assume everyone can do a review better. There's a lot of reviews out there, lots of different content that goes into, there's a lot of people who like the hobby, and there's a lot of people jumping into it to put out content. So I just assume that there's better reviews than the reviews I will put out, which is why I do the types of content I do. I talk about topics because I find board game topics to be fascinating. Whether it's talking about publishers, whether it's talking about what's going on in the industry, I find those things fascinating, and I find that the number of YouTubers doing that kind of content is far fewer. There's occasionally you'll have topics here and there, but I just find that I find that the available content for general topics is either not as well done, or just far fewer people doing it. I talk about my collection because something that people don't do a lot in board games is people don't talk about what games they're keeping and what games they're getting rid of. People put out a lot of opinions, and Rado is someone who does kind of mention whether he's keeping a game or not here and there. He doesn't do always, but he does mention it here and there. But I find it fascinating, not just what we like, what's a good game, what's a bad game, what we're keeping. I find it far more fascinating, what are people getting rid of? Which games made the cut and why? My monthly update every month where I talk about what games leave in my collection, I thought that would be a barely viewed series, and it's one of my higher viewed series with a lot of content, a lot of engagement. And I think it's because other people also like seeing what people are getting rid of and why. Most of the games I get rid of are great games. Once in a while I trash talk a game about how I didn't personally like it, with all the disclaimers in the world about how other people do like that game. But I find more interesting not the games I didn't like. That's almost easy. I find more interesting the games I do like, but weren't good enough in terms of the spectrum of all the games out there and where we choose to put our time, our money, our attention, all that stuff. So I talk about that because I think it's interesting and unique and it's not done a lot. I talk about Kickstarter videos not because it's not done, but because no one out there that I've personally seen talks about the value proposition of a Kickstarter. The way I look at a Kickstarter, the way I approach a Kickstarter video is purely as to whether it makes financial sense to back this. Knowing that I'm factoring the enjoyment aspect of games. I don't care about, I want to pay for a good game, but if the game's going to be available cheaper later, why back it now? Why are you engaging in a one-sided arrangement? I mean, when I did my whole video defending Come people talked about, you know, I'm too corporate, I'm too business. I mean, there's an element of that. And yes, I was defending Come to an extent. I wasn't actually defending. I was giving, I was saying I understand where they're coming from, but I still think they're wrong. But the flip side of that is every single Kickstarter video I do is telling you to not engage in a business transaction with a company unless they are giving you a reason to do so. I'm not pro-business, I'm pro what makes sense to me. And that's when I say me, that means just me. This is my opinion, this is my worldview, this is my outlook on life and the way I look at things. And whether you watch these videos because you appreciate that outlook, whether you share that outlook, whether you disagree with it and want to provide your own feedback, whatever reasons there are that you watch these videos, that you engage with me, with this channel, it's fun, and I'm glad to have you here. I don't have to agree with everyone. I certainly don't agree with everyone. My favorite YouTubers, all my favorite YouTubers that I enjoy watching are all people, and I have a list. I mean, there's all from anyone. There's Rado, Dice Tower, King of Average. There's all these different channels that I really enjoy watching, and not a single one of them, so shut up and sit down, one of my favorite channels to watch, I don't like almost, I rarely share the same taste in games with them, but they're enjoyable to watch. There are different reasons we watch different people. There are different reasons we engage in different content. Ultimately, this is a bit of a ramble because I don't really have a firm objective of where I'm going with this video. I'm glad to have you guys on board. You know, I'm glad for every single one of you who subscribed, everyone who watches, everyone who comments. If you like, I mean, there's a reason I said I don't do reviews. I've done a few unboxings, but my heart's not really in them. Like, okay, great, I'm unboxing a game. I don't really, I'll still do a few here and there, but I'm not really. A big part of why I'm doing what I'm doing right now is because I love these videos. I love this content creation. So an unboxing video, I don't think I'm adding that much value. So even though they get views, you're gonna see them far less frequently because I'm not emotionally invested in it. Versus my topics and the Kickstarter games and the collection, the games I'm keeping, the games I'm getting rid of, those are things I find far more fascinating, and that's where I only want to do this as long as it's fun. I only want to do this as long as my heart is in it. I only want to do this as long as people are watching and engaging and whatnot. And you don't get me wrong, you don't need to head on over to BoardGameCo.com and buy a game. You're welcome to, by all means, head on over, but your view, your participation, your subscription, your share, all those things are more than good enough. Your agreement, your disagreement, your comments, your likes, your dislikes. You know what, actually I take that back. I don't like dislikes. I do like dislikes that come with a comment. Critical feedback is great. Whatever the critical feedback is, I love it. A dislike on its own is not really helping me, but if you need to do it, you need to do it. But yeah, that's basically it. That's my opinion, that's my 2 cents, my whole ramble about why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I love it, because I love the hobby, I love the medium of YouTube, and yes, there is a financial incentive for me doing so. That's just life. I'm not gonna lie to you in any other video, including this one. I'm Alex from BoardGameCo. Until next time, have a good one.